So let's start. So welcome. Now that I've got you here, thanks to this marvelous clickbaity title, I can actually switch to the real title, which is what I actually want to talk about. Yeah, so there is a bright future for Drupal, but we need to change our ways. So back in many years ago, this was the motto of our community: come for the software, stay for the community. I have to say I am basically the embodiment of staying for the community. So my Drupal journey, maybe like so many others, I got into Drupal because of my personal website. I have seen recently that, I still have it, even though it's now a static site. The code is still there, the database is still there. I just saw that I created it 18.5 years ago. My son is 18 years old also, so I must have been feeling really productive back then. One of the things that I was really sad about my Drupal site was it didn't have Joomla's export to PDF. And I'm a software engineer. I solved the problem by taking care of the print module, which was a really terrible idea. The people in the security team can probably say one or two things about that decision. Anyway, so then I have another site which is actually paying me some very little money because I run AdSense on it and gives me about 200 euros per month. That I'm now, I've ported it from 7 to 8 to 9 to 10. Had real fun during the 8 to 9 because it was so easy. 9 to 10 also. Now I'm working on the Drupal 11 upgrade, trying to see the modules. Like I already have a big blocker, which is Bootstrap. This was based on Bootstrap 3. Drupal 11 introduces jQuery 4. Apparently that's incompatible with Bootstrap 3, so I will need to rebuild the theme. So that's already some part that I will have to do. So I started doing Contrib work on my spare time. That was something I also had back then. I kept porting the print module. I still maintain it. It got unsupported at some point, and because of a security issue that I wasn't paying attention to. But apparently it's so important to Drupal 7 that it got re-supported, which is probably going against what Klausi said in his talk a few days ago. Anyway, so then I started doing Drupal professionally. I participated in the local meetups. I got engaged in the local communities wherever I lived, and that meant Lisbon, Munich, and Frankfurt. Munich, it was fun because I was there when DrupalCon Munich was in the planning, so I was invited to be part of the organization team. So I helped organize that one as well. Really organizing was Drupal Dev Days Lisbon, where I was doing a lot of things. Drupal Europe, I was mainly the party guy. And I've been a volunteer in many other camps. Drupal Dev Day speaker in 2017, 18, 19, 22. 20 and 21 didn't exist because of COVID, and I basically didn't apply to Vienna, and probably it might even be that this is my last Drupal Dev Days session. Anyway, so I co-maintain too many modules. Half of them I actually don't use anymore. Got some contributions and whatever. And I'm a backend guy. So now this thing is my new front end. So I don't do Drupal anymore. I now work as a consultant doing testing for these satellites, which are I can't remember which one is which. This is, I think, EPSSG A1, and this is B1. It might be that it's the other way around. Anyway, these are waiting for an Ariane 6 to launch. So yeah, Starshot has a different meaning to me.
What are they doing, the satellites?
They are in a, no, what they are physically doing now, they're in a cold room that costs too much money of your tax dollars or your tax euros. But when they go into space, they will help to monitor the environment. So there are several instruments. One that I can remember out of my head is an infrared scanning, which basically can tell what's the average temperature of basically the whole Earth. This is, so EPSSG means European Polar Segment. Why European? Well, first because it's paid for by Europe, but it works in conjunction with the American segment, which is managed by NOAA. And I'm already talking too much about things that have nothing to do with this year. So, what I want to talk about. Let's imagine the end of Drupal, okay? So what would the end of Drupal look like? So people would start using Drupal less and less. You would have much less number of installed sites. Newer versions of Drupal would get used less than the previous version. Even the popular modules would be unmaintained, like Drupal 7, to be honest. If you go look at Drupal 7, the views module, which was one of was basically the killer feature in Drupal 7. I think Drupal views for Drupal 7 hasn't had a release in like 1 year and a half. So no bugs in views at all. Amazing, huh? Perfect. So what my feeling as a module maintainer, I see that that many RTBC issues are there in modules that not the ones that I maintain, except one that I have too bigger plans for it than to accept those patches. I see that too many modules that I use, there are too many RTBC issues, and the maintainers don't actually commit them. Not sure why. Release intervals of module versions are not measured in months. They start getting measured in years, like views for Drupal 7. But one, for instance, that I can name off the top of my head, which is fairly popular even in Drupal 8+, which is the admin toolbar. It hasn't had a release in 1 year. There are, like, I think from what I remember, 12 RTBC issues there. And I don't know, like, for me, it's important because I'm using it. It would be something that I would like to keep using. But yeah, I mean, probably I'll just switch over to Gin like everyone did. Then we'd also have like fewer community events. So camps would start dying out. They would have less people. We would have Drupal Dev Days with 150 instead of 300 or 400 like in the good old days. Smaller attendance at DrupalCons. Community getting older, getting smaller. People finding better paying jobs outside of Drupal. Maybe. Agencies starting to drop Drupal and adding other things. And somebody even like forking Drupal into going into a different direction. I'm not saying this has already happened or is going to happen. It's just the function, the view I see of how Drupal will eventually fade away. So what is our current status? As you know, WordPress is king. It's the green line over there. This is more or less the market share of CMS systems. Drupal was this line here, and Joomla was the one above us in purple. We have been outmatched by Shopify, Wix, and Squarespace. So those are now, the rating here is the current one. So Drupal is now the 6th most popular CMS in the world. We used to be the 3rd most popular. So that happened. One graphic I really like to see is this one. This is classic versus modern. So the red line is functional Drupal, Drupal 5, 6, plus 7. And then we have modern Drupal, which is Drupal 8 to 11, let's say. And you can see first Drupal 6 was pretty good, and then came Drupal 7, which was just amazing. So Gabor, you did a mighty good job here with Drupal 6. One thing that I find funny about this graphic is it kind of replicates the one that we have for modern Drupal, right? There is the possibility here to have a Drupal 7 moment, that this graphic of Drupal gets a jump like crazy here, and we become amazing again, which would be really, really nice. But you can see, like Drupal 6, just before Drupal 7 really started to take off, we have basically now stabilized in numbers. A much better version of how this looks like is this other graphic. This one, it's basically the yearly trend. So in red is how many Drupal 7 sites we have lost since 1 year before. So Drupal 7 is basically losing around 100,000 sites per year, which is bad news for those doing the Drupal 7 long-term services. And the worrying part that I find is the new versions. And again, don't look at the tips. The tips are really hard to do in trend lines. These squiggly lines in the back are the real numbers, but they are too chaotic for us to understand. But the trend is we were pretty good with Drupal 8 Plus until about 2022, I would say, maybe 2021. So over COVID, when COVID started, we were still pretty good, and then we started going down. And we almost, well, basically we were in negative numbers at some point. And now we are slowly getting better numbers. But after some months where these numbers didn't go negative, we are back to being negative again and basically losing the amount of Drupal sites. So the amount of Drupal sites that stop communicating, hey, I'm here and I'm a modern Drupal site, is getting less than the new ones that show up. This is the same numbers again, but now you can see Drupal 6 started, went down a bit, and it's still going down. Drupal 7 went up like a rocket, and now it's basically going in for a soft landing, like a good airplane. It will probably do the same as every other Drupal version that slowly fades into zero. The worrying part that I find is this. You can see, like, the green one is Drupal 8. The orange one, let's say, is Drupal 9. The blue one is Drupal 10. And the part I find annoying is Drupal 9 was never as popular as Drupal 10. Drupal 10, at this point in the graph, so basically at this point, the number of Drupal 9 sites that replaced Drupal 8 went up and then stabilized. This point has been passed already for the replacements between Drupal 9 and Drupal 10. So I think if that number stabilizes there, that will mean Drupal 10 has also been less popular than Drupal 9. And I start to think that this is a trend, that Drupal 11 might be also less popular than Drupal 10 ever was. The good news I find is at some point these two lines will intercept, and Drupal 7 will stop being the most popular version that we have, being replaced with Drupal 10. So Drupal 10 for the win. And then the thing that will happen probably is all these lines will slowly fade into zero. The other point of view, and this is my personal one, is I find that Contrib modules are increasingly unmaintained. I try to maintain my modules. Most of the modules that I have, I've already created a release candidate version for Drupal 11. Certainly, for all of them, I've already committed the Drupal 11 patch. Some of those that I haven't tested really well, I might not have marked a stable release, but people can just install them without needing the Drupal enient and tell me if something is really wrong. What I find funny, we all agree on one thing. Contrib can innovate way better than core, which is kind of frustrating. Like my one personal thing that I have, and it bugs me quite a lot, is there is an issue that was created about 10 years ago, which is really simple to solve. It is Drupal cannot handle decimal numbers. So if you want to store a Bitcoin, the value of your value of Bitcoins that you have, you need crazy precision decimals, right? Drupal cannot handle that. It has a type for that called decimal. It should handle that, but in most cases it will fail because the thing that Drupal does is it converts the number to a float and then validates if the number is within the required precision. Why does it convert it to a float? Because somebody decided, and it's a major bug. The solution is simple. It's been there for 10 years. It's been getting better with increasing patches, which is you don't ever convert it to a float. You go with it as a string until you insert it in the database. When it gets inserted in the database, Drupal will handle it fine. 10 years, major one, honestly. So this would have been solved in my Contrib like 10 years ago. I would just have like merged it. Anyway, so the other thing that I find about Contrib modules, and this is the one that that I think is the reason why we have so many unmaintained modules, is unlike WordPress and Joomla, we never developed a plugin marketplace. The ones that I do know that are maintainers getting paid for maintaining a modules are just these two. Webform, Jakob. I am Rokovitz, I think. Yeah, is getting about $9,000 a year out of the Open Collective. Honestly, $9,000 per year. Yeah, it's better than zero, but my God. Sasha is getting about $1,800 from the GitHub sponsoring. I don't know how much of that is netto, and there is also an Open Collective. So you might be getting around $2,000 per month to maintain Gin. It's not enough for a full-time job, and Gin is used, I'm pretty sure, by every professional website that's being done currently. So if all the agencies were paying him 100 euros, like some other agencies that I used to work for, I'm pretty sure you would be able to not work for GitLab and just do Gin all the time. So can Project Browser help to create that? I don't think so. I think honestly, it's too late. And I've seen this discussion happening many, many times, and we never got anywhere. But it would have been good. I'm pretty sure if the modules that I maintain have high enough usage that that for sure I could just do Drupal and not do any other job. One thing that I also find is many maintainers have dozens of modules. Like I don't have that many, but like Anybody, Greville, Dave Reed, people like that I have now like 50 modules that they maintain. And yeah, I understand you work for a company that uses all those modules, but no one can seriously maintain that many modules. It's minimally maintained. They will, like I do, look at RTBC issues, review them, merge them if they're good, but the rest will just stay in limbo. So, yeah. So if things don't get to RTBC, probably maintainers don't actually have the bandwidth to actually work on them. The project update working group is a very good idea to solve the problem that modules being unmaintained, but it's only a bandage, to be honest. Like, people will go in, they will patch, they will merge the update bot patch, and then they will stop being maintainers immediately. So yes, your module will now be compatible with Drupal 11 and in future Drupal 12, but is it really maintained? No, it's becoming more and more obsolete by the moment. The other thing, fewer Drupal camps. So this is a picture of 2 Drupal camps that were kind of staples within the community. This is DrupalCon London, Drupal Camp London. This was Front-End United. Front-End United used to be, for the front-enders that are here, you would not normally be here. This used to be a purely back-end camp. Front-enders would go to this one, which would be Front-End United. And what's happened to these two? Well, COVID happened. And it also happened to Drupal Dev Days. We bounced back. Vienna picked up the mantle. Ghent also picked, they were already scheduled to go before COVID. They took the plans they had, they just updated the year, then Vienna, then here. So Drupal Dev Days is still happening. Drupal Camp London in July 2023 said they would come back in 2024. It's already the middle of June 2024, and we still don't have any news from them. So it might be they return, might be that they just fade. Front-End United got canceled 2020. Never, and this is the last post in the Front-End United Twitter. DrupalCon attendance. So these ones here are the COVID ones, if I remember correctly. These 2 points plus these 2 other points. The rest painted a very interesting story. So DrupalCons in Europe and in the US started having like parity. Then the US DrupalCon went awesome, like very popular, more than 3,000 people. DrupalCon in Europe, the most popular one was here in Amsterdam with almost 200, 500. And then post-COVID, we have a very interesting situation, which is it might be that if Barcelona is just a little bit more popular, it will be the first DrupalCon in Europe that's more popular than the DrupalCon in North America since basically the beginning of Drupal here. So we're back to being better in Europe, which I'm not sure if it's a good sign or not. Just saying, this is what's happening. It's interesting. So you might remember this from the Dries note.
If you've been involved in Drupal for 3 years or more, please keep sending. Oh, wow. I don't know if you could tell, but almost nobody said that. All right. How about 5 years? Stay standing if you've been involved for 5 years. Wow, that's incredible, actually. 10 years. All right. Finally, some people are starting to sit down. But still, that's kind of wild. What about 20 years?
So I don't know if you saw this or you were there. The thing was, people only started sitting down when Dries said, who's been here for more than 20 years. I would also have sat down. Okay, they started sitting down more, and then with 20, basically everyone sat down. So I would like to replicate that here a bit. So who's done Drupal for more than 1 year? Okay, good. Who's done it for more than 5 years? Okay, not many. Who's done it for more than 10 years? Yeah, okay. Who's done it for more than 15 years? Okay, so.
Almost 20.
Yeah, I'm not going into 20 because for 20 it's going to be like Gabor and that was the jump I didn't agree with the Dries note. He should have jumped to 15. I think the part I find funny was that Dries was actually surprised that people have been doing Drupal for so long. Either he's a very good actor or this was the time that he found out that we have a problem. From what I saw here, clearly we are getting older.
The world is getting older. It's not I mean, like, go to South Korea or some place like this, you know, they like build new capital to try to incentivize people to make kids. It's a worldwide problem, except in places like, I don't know, Africa, for example.
Yeah.
So getting older is not really unique problem.
The problem is we are a community. We need fresh blood to replace the ones that go out. If the ones that go out are not replaced, we will fade.
I think we need to have a statistic normalized for the world population age. And it's not sure what you're saying, but it would be interesting to see.
Okay, so now we'll need to literally talk about the elephant in the room, okay? This is the elephant in the room. People is saying, we keep saying PHP runs 80% of the internet, right? True, according to the data. But PHP used to be one of the most popular languages in the world. If you don't know, there's this thing called the TIOB index that has several signals going into a ranking that says what is the most popular programming language. Drupal used to be usually like a third or fourth, PHP used to be third or fourth most popular language for quite a long time. The first three at that time were Java, I think in the beginning, C, C++. C, C++ are, if I had put all of them, this would be a squiggle. C, C++ are somewhere here. They are still like number 2 and number 3. C++ actually, for the first time, went above C, pure C. So, well done, C++. And that's, we basically had an inverse of the popularity between PHP and Python. So Python is now.
What is this based on? I mean, popularity meaning.
It's too many signals. They basically go into every search site except Pornhub, and
Does it run on PHP?
I don't. I just know they go into several things. They kind of measure, and it's a highly respected measure of how the programming languages are really viewed in the marketplace. So Python, of course. Machine learning has now made Python very popular, so that has skyrocketed. Java is basically a line like this. C and C++ are basically like flat. JavaScript is, weirdly enough, completely flat. It's more or less where it was since the beginning. Python was the one that was below PHP, it now went up, and it's now the number 1 language. And PHP did this. So it was really popular. When we did Drupal 7 in 2011, it was at the height of PHP's popularity. And since then, PHP is basically going down. And what happened in the meantime, it is now in number 15. So if you go into the TIOB index, you can get this image. But you cannot get this anymore because this one only has the top 10 images. So the ones that compare directly with all others, or else there would be like too many squiggly lines at the bottom. JetBrains, state of developer ecosystem, paints a similar picture. And the funny thing about this one is it's actually biased towards users of Java and towards users of PHP and all the tools that JetBrains does. And the funny thing is PHP started out more or less, at least in this graph, which is 2017 there, you cannot see it that well. But so PHP and Python basically have like a mirror of each other. So Python since 2017 has grown up a lot, and PHP has decreased more than 10%. Python grew more than 20% in that period. The other thing in this state of developer ecosystem is that only of all the developers that were asked, only 1% were thinking about adopting PHP. And like we're getting older and needing to build new capitals, 69% of PHP developers have been using it for more than 4 years, which is the most that they ask in this state of developer ecosystem. So PHP, we are having the same problems as PHP, basically. About those 80% of the usage built with .com also measures the popularity of frameworks, let's say. And these graphics, I just basically superimpose them on top of each other, because when you go to this site, you basically see like a flat line here and a flat line here, which are the other ones, because they get compressed down. So the 1 million, you would see it like this, but the 100K look like flat lines at the bottom here. But they are, when you isolate each one of them, they basically paint always the same picture. So PHP reached some kind of top in 2019, and then I guess COVID just was more, had like an anti-PHP gene, which is probably the proof that it was genetically designed. So the thing is, like, COVID started and PHP usage is falling down and probably will keep falling down. It's just weird. So yes, PHP runs 80% of the sites, but the ones that we, Drupal, target are seeing less and less PHP being used there. And if we have Dries, now we have Matt Mullenweg.
And I don't remember when it crossed over. Someone can fact check this, but I believe the majority of new code in WordPress is JavaScript now, and has been for some time. So in many ways, you could argue by what's the majority of activity happening, that Gutenberg has made us sort of a JavaScript first project. And that shift was not easy. A lot of people had to learn new things.
Yeah, so the champion of PHP, WordPress, is basically now JavaScript first project, which is bad news again for PHP. So what can we do? So first, PHP's problems are ours as well. There is a PHP foundation that was created in 2021. They pay for 10 core developers. The funny thing, before 2021, PHP itself was like 1 buzz or 2 buzz factor away from not being maintainable anymore. One guy that was employed by JetBrains, and he was one of these in the buzz factor, decided to stop doing PHP, and that created a crisis. So that PHP Foundation was done. The only, like, it's the membership of the foundation is open to individuals and to organizations. I didn't go look for individuals, but for organizations, the ones that I saw, the only one that has anything to do with Drupal that I saw there, I might be mistaken though, is Acquia. Acquia was a founding member. They gave $25,000, but I don't see any other Drupal agency helping with the foundation. And this has a practical problem. Like, one of the organization goals for 2023 and 24, but from the report, is the goals are explore strategic partnerships and marketing opportunities. And they did mark an X for the marketing opportunities. So the foundation failed their own goal of exploring marketing opportunities, which are honestly needed to counteract this bad view that PHP has. They even say, we did not explore any marketing opportunities. And I think part of that is the fact that people are simply not putting their money where their value, where their company value is.
They're also core developers, they're not marketing people.
Yeah, but they want to. It's part of one of the organizations. If they got enough money, maybe they would have enough to pay the all the core developers they want, and then one marketing specialist. Okay? So how do we grow the community? We've had a big problem with COVID-19. That is for sure. And the other thing is Drupal is more and more business. These camps usually are volunteer-based, so there's a clash between those two cultures. One thing that I want to say is, if only we had a site that's used by all the Drupal community, that we could tell people about meetup and camps. Or if we had a software tool that has an announcements module somewhere in there that could also tell about Drupal meetups and camps. If anybody knows about any such site or any such tool, it would be really good to have this there, okay? And what you cannot read here is Drupal meetups and Drupal camps are basically tributaries, in my view, to DrupalCon. The DrupalCon, yeah, you can go to DrupalCon. So the more camps and meetups there are, the better the attendance at DrupalCons, the better the Drupal Association is funded, the better Drupal itself can do stuff, etc., etc. Well, Drupal is basically now corporate. It's not a spare time activity anymore. Agencies employ up to hundreds of Drupal developers. Budgets are crazy. How do we make Drupal clients take only makers and not takers? There is this thing that I like a lot. And again, I proposed this session before the Dries note and all of these were announced at DrupalCon. But I really like the fact that now organizations will be forced to have contribution credits, which are, there's a top tier here that I didn't write, but the number of credits are going to be impressive. Although personally, I think I myself per year would easily go into the bronze area, but I can understand that that this are already pretty good. Like most companies will want to get into gold. This is something significant. Like I think most companies here might actually fail the gold tier if they don't change their ways. So what do I think that everyone that runs a Drupal agency here can do? Well, the first and most important one is pledge to Starshot, please. I know I'm a bit hypocritical because myself, I won't be doing it, but do ask for co-maintainer in every module that you use. Like, I'm pretty sure most companies here have a big Drupal starter kit, Drupal distribution, and they are now looking towards moving it to Drupal 11. If you co-maintain those modules, you both simplify the life of the maintainers that don't have time for that, and you ensure that your product is better maintained into the future. Be responsible for the modules you created. This is something I see a lot. Like companies create a module, release it as open source, and say, hey, we are open source. And then they leave it because they don't use it anymore. So be responsible for those. It's your baby. Maintain it or provide some documentation on how to go to an alternative. It would be nice if companies could give like 10% of their employee time to do Drupal, right? I would find that amazing in the agencies that I was. Sponsor module maintenance, so like everyone should be supporting Sasha in Gin, and organize and sponsor local meetups. This is one that's easy. Companies have already an office, in most cases. You can organize a local meetup and basically start to grow the community in your local area, but also within your company. Why? Because honestly, for new developers, Drupal is a 9-to-5 job. They come in, they get paid to do Drupal, and then they leave, and Drupal is something that they don't want to do in their spare time. I used to do Drupal in my spare time, still do Drupal in my spare time. I don't have spare time. I don't know what happened to it, but it's gone. So one thing that my experience is like they're ticket focused. Like they have a ticket, they have to do something, they will fix the bug, they'll do a local patch, and then they will move on. How many times I've seen in projects that I had to then take a look at what's happening because the thing didn't work anymore. The reason was there is in Composer patches a local patch that I do not understand why it's there. It's not documented clearly. Some of them are actually bugs that exist in Drupal.org and have been fixed. Usually that's when the patch starts applying. But other times it is that the real fix is in parallel, and it's not changing the same lines. So both the fix from the maintainer and the fix from the 9-to-5 developer get applied, and then these conflict and start creating problems. So it would be nice if there was some kind of free training with a free certificate. Like I get in LinkedIn and I got from Google Analytics these courses where you go, you do some simple lessons, and then you get a nice PDF with a certificate saying that I completed the Google Analytics course. It would be really nice if there was like a free training on the Drupal.org issue queues that basically would be basic Drupal.org community membership that every Drupal developer should have. About certified Drupal experts. Yeah, there's a company that does quite known certified Drupal, triple something grandmaster, whatever. There is zero requirement for those people to contribute. And one of the companies that I worked in at one point published a tweet saying, oh my God, we have a new triple certified Wizard of Oz that has completed all the courses, and this is an amazing contribution to the Drupal community. And I was like, I went into the guy's site in Drupal personal page in Drupal.org, and over almost, I think, like 7 years that he's been a member of Drupal.org, he's got like 5 Contrib credits. I mean, I can do 5 Contrib credits in the next hour if I want to. So there's a lot of RTBC issues in my modules. So this would be also something that particular company should do. Force not only companies to do contribution, but like a pilot, if you're a certified Drupal expert, you should be forced to maintain something or to have enough contribution to be a part of the Drupal community. How to make these people interested in the growth of Drupal? Honestly, you as a Drupal developer, you are usually better paid than a non-Drupal developer because Drupal developers are quite rare nowadays. And this knowledge that you have has a value, which will be lost if Drupal stops existing. You will basically have to reinvent yourself. People that do JavaScript can basically migrate away. Backenders with lots of experience in upgrading between Drupal versions probably will have to do something else. My company is hiring to go if you want to work in local mission control systems. And finally, so we have Drupal Starshot. My message to Drupal Starshot, please pledge to it. I think we have a chance to do what happened in between Drupal 6 and Drupal 7, that we took off and went into space, basically, in the usage chart. But it needs to be awesome. And my problem is, I think this is one shot that we have. There will be marketing, there will be something saying, come back to Drupal, it's amazing now, experience it. If it is not awesome, people will come, take a look at it, say it's still the same crap that it was before, and never take a look at it again. So even if we ever do one that is truly, truly awesome, has all the best and whistles that you could get, it might be that we can't convince them again to take a second look. So no pressure on you guys, but like the things that we were talking in this session a few hours ago about OpenAI within Drupal, I think that would be one of those things that people would be like, oh my God, this is so good to have in my content management system. So that might be one of those things that people will say, this is amazing, and it's groundbreaking. Okay, so thank you. I'm somewhere in that picture that this was my first DrupalCon in Paris. But I don't know exactly where I am. I'm a red shirt somewhere in the back, I think there. I'm not sure if I've ever coming back to a Drupal Dev Days again. I heard that there might be the chance for it to exist in a place that I've never been and I really want to go to. So maybe on that one, if it happens. Otherwise, thank you very much for letting me be a part of this community, of coming to so many Drupal Dev Days as a speaker. I hope you are not disappointed. And I would want to now discuss, if we still have time, which I have no idea how much time we have, what do you think of my suggestions? What would be better suggestions on how we could get back on a growth cycle?
Thank you, Joao, and thank you for your contribution. One of the things that I did, because I wanted to promote PHP and Drupal within the Icelandic organization, and definitely when people were searching for 3 different ways to find anybody who did Drupal in Iceland, they got 3 resolutions. They found Hilmar, which is me. They found Drupal Viking, which is also me. And a company called 1x Internet, which I used to work for. Yeah. So what I did was I pledged to the Reykjavík University to actually start teaching PHP and Drupal within the university. Yeah. I am now starting my 5th semester teaching over 30 students each time, PHP and Drupal.
And it's a full course every time?
It's a full course every time,
even
yeah.
with that thing that it seems that PHP is not
yes.
a viable career path?
Yes,
okay.
and students that walk out are very happy. They are interested in both the programming language and the product that Drupal is. Unfortunately, my company is very small. I can't hire them all. But if everybody would do that, if we would actually go into the universities and teach this as a sustainable course, how to make website, how to make CMSs, how to be one of the cool kids, that would be should be one of the reasons we could come back. Not only for Drupal, yeah. but for CMSs and PHP in general.
That might be something that the PHP Foundation, I'll retro-engineer the slides saying that Drupal, the PHP Foundation could certainly help there. Mm. If, like you had to create the slides, if the PHP Foundation creates a basic project course for universities, yeah, it would help you a lot, right?
I actually had to disguise my first course because Reykjavík University was not happy with teaching PHP. So my course has a very, very, very long name to disguise what the hell we are doing. But, you know, the students don't bite on that. They know, they realize what we are teaching. They realize how big of a factor knowing how to write CMSs really can. And I have another course developed that will be starting teaching on in January 2025. So, you know, if you have any urge to be, you know, to know how to teach, go ahead, talk to your university and apply. And it pays a hell of a lot more than Drupal.
That's another competitor for my spare time.
Yeah, I'll just add a very quick comment to that. Ben Mullins, one of the core committers, also sort of teaches Drupal at university. So the way that he tricked it is he teaches React at the university. And so that's what the kids bite on. It's React, great. And so he uses Drupal as the backend for React. So he kind of uses React as the gateway to get them on Drupal, and that works pretty well for him. Yeah.
There's someone over there.
Okay, I could. I wanted to make this a longer one, but I think that statistics is. There are some swear words which I will not say. You can use statistics to show whatever actually you want and to present the data in every way you can. But your statistics definitely show that there are some things that we can do actually about it. Something like your presentation is like a wake-up call for. Maybe Drupal was in a kind of a cocoon, not being aware of the changes. But
I'm pretty sure it's aware. Like the initiatives we see, I'm pretty sure Starshot is because of it. I'm pretty sure that these changes to the Drupal certified program are because of that. It's clear that modules are not being maintained, or else the project working group, update working group, would not exist. I saw other comments in these same Drupal Dev Days from people like Drupal Commerce, etc., etc. There is a pain, and this pain is big. We need a wake-up call, yes, we do, and I hope we can definitely get that wake-up call. But I see a bright future for Drupal. I'm still invested a bit in it. I could make the one site that I have static as well. I've always liked to write directly in HTML, so if I need to create from Python, which by the way is now a language that I do a lot, is Python. If I need to create a static site generator in Python for this one site instead of Drupal, I can do it very fast. And then I basically would close up shop.
And I would like just to add about the famous death of PHP. Which is always immediately tomorrow. But PHP as a PHP much improved in the performance, and I would not go that far to fight that it is still powering the World Wide Web mostly. But I think that the paradigm that sits behind the PHP, for instance, for me, if you're a programmer. So not a developer, not I don't know what. If you're a programmer, then actually PHP is a C-based language. It's not common. It's not the same as JavaScript, because JavaScript is async driven and it's completely different paradigm. But I think that
there's no proper types.
What?
And there's no proper types.
Neither does PHP in a strict sense, but it's extended to the way that it. But some things are like fashion. First we were in the typed world, like C, like very very strictly typed, and then it was like types are bad. Let's go untyped. Then everybody goes untyped, and then all the languages that are untyped now are screaming, "Oh, let's be typed again." Okay, like make up your mind. What actually do you want to do? So there are pros and cons. I think that, of course, I think that PHP is really driving the thing, and we cannot say that JavaScript is not a thing. So it's very popular, and many are trying to explore it, but at the same time, with the JavaScript to close the system, including the WordPress and the Drupal, you still need some other kind of a foundation to close it, like React is requiring some kind of a backend, and you must have some kind of a backend. So that's why I wanted to say that.
Also JavaScript.
This be another lecture.
Okay, thank you.
One last question for Nicholas, a quick question, and then we close it.
Anyone else that wants to say something, feel free to contact me.
Thank you. I just wanted to throw in one idea that I think many people forget, and I see that maybe because I look at it like with the marketing perspective, but when there are no clients to use Drupal, also those university programs don't really pay off, because all of these people then equipped with knowledge about Drupal will not find a job because there's no
There will be a
demand
job
for
Drupal
that.
for quite some time. Like,
Yeah, but
like
for
there is a job for COBOL programmers.
I'm just saying, like, for this reason, I would say the marketing is the crucial aspect here, because the more people or the more companies are willing to dive into Drupal, there is the more necessity to actually grow the community. So if you take a look at like any, not saying social media, but any network, for example, like YouTube is like a video platform. Like Drupal stuff doesn't happen there in a way that companies can pick up on it easily, understand what the value is, and then make the decision. And also, oh yeah, sorry, just wanted to say that.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, marketing is important, and there is an initiative for Drupal marketing.
Sorry, there's no time. You can buy Joao a drink later and discuss more about
Yes, I've seen you. So thank you very much again.